Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, NXT Vengeance Day review. I've actually finished the show on Sunday, just haven't done the video yet. Wow. If you think about where takeovers used to be to where this show was, wow. Yeah. It was okay. It was good. Don't get me wrong. Very predictable. I did my preview. I was right on 4 of the 5 matches. On the one match I was not right on was the NXT Underground match. And to be honest with you, if I would have even thought about it at all, forgetting that Lola Vice had the most Underground matches in NXT, I would have went ahead and picked her, but I did not. I picked Kiana Jordan. So yeah, just kind of straight down the middle. So let's go ahead and run down what happened. First match, we had a street fight. Blake Monroe taking on Jaida Parker. Yeah, when you have a street fight, yeah, it's just, when I watch these matches, I have to go, okay, street fight, WWE, okay. And that way it changes my expectations. They had candlesticks stuck to the ring post. Okay, cool. Obviously, those came into play a little bit. You had each of them pull a table out from underneath the ring. You had each of them not use that said table at first. You had them get chairs, not use them. It's like you pull these weapons out and like, ooh, we don't use it right away. It eventually gets used, but not right away. Blake hit Jaida with an umbrella out of nowhere. Blake did a muscle drop kick off the top rope. Blake pulled a chair in the ring. Didn't use it. And then this is actually a cool spot. So Blake takes the chair, sits in the ring corner, ends up fighting with Jaida, gets her in the tree of woe, where she's kind of hanging down, puts a chair in front of her, so she's surrounded by chairs, and does like a hip check into the chairs, into Jaida. That's kind of a cool spot. Jaida went swinging for the fences with a kendo stick. They fight on the outside. She hits Jaida with the chair, takes the chair to Blake. Okay, cool. Finally got the chair involved. It was out there. Jaida off the top rope, a teardrop Blake through a table. I guess that's what the move was called, teardrop. So we get the table involved. We've had it out there once. Then it's like then Blake pulls out a bag of what looked like diamonds. I'm gonna go on a limb and say those weren't real diamonds. I'm gonna say they were sugar. But yeah, it still looks like they hurt. Blake ended up hitting the glamour shot, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, it was okay. The street fight part of it, oh sure, why not? Okay, I don't have a lot of typical street fight, stuff. No disqualification or anything goes. That's kind of what some of that stuff was. But street fight to me, I think of more like the parking lot stuff they had with the next match, that kind of stuff, or a little bit more weaponry used. But you know what? As a match, as a WWE match, street fight, it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Blake Monroe getting the victory. I give it 3.5 stars. Next up, we had Tony D'Angelo and Dion Lennox. Like I talked about in the preview, this goes back to the Dark State and D'Angelo family days. And when the Stacks turned on the family and went a separate way, Tony took some time away, came back, and obviously picked up that feud where he left off. Dark State was awaiting D'Angelo in the parking lot. A older car pulls in convertible. Dark State thought it was Tony D'Angelo, and it wasn't. They ended up going confronting the guy driving it, and then Tony shows up with a crowbar and starts taking out Dark State. They fight out in the parking lot. They fight into the door. D'Angelo ends up lowering the overhead door and leaving Dark State outside. They fight through a building, through like a back room. They end up fighting their way to ringside, and with the kind of on the NXT set where the little tower sets where people show up at. They came through the wall, and they're next to the announce table. Then they end up fighting in the ring. Then you had Dark State come out, get involved, and it being like 5-on-1. And kind of like I said in the preview, what happened. You had Tony kind of fighting them all off, which, yeah, okay, sure. Tony ends up suplexing Dion off the ring wall through the announce table. So the wall that goes around the ring, they're fighting on the outside of the ring. And they're on top of that fighting, he ends up doing a suplex him off that through the announce table. And he does him in the ring, kind of. It wasn't as quick as I thought. I figured it would be a quick roll up, everybody hits the ring, and D'Angelo ducks out. It wasn't quite like that, but it was still kind of something similar. They all were getting involved, all Dark State. But Tony was able to get the 1-2-3 and get the victory over Dion Lennox. I ended up giving this match 3.5 as well. It was only 7 minutes, but it still had some kind of. You had Tony fighting from underneath so much because there's so many Dark State members attacking him and stuff. It was a neat little match there, so I give it 3.5 as well. So far, both matches have been 3.5, which again is not bad. If you remember some of the old takeovers, every match was almost a 5-star match. But next up we had the NXT North American Women's North American title line. We had champion can't talk today. Izzi with Nico Vance and Sean Spears at ringside, taking on former Calling member Tatum Paxley. They fought on the outside. They fought against the ringside there. Tatum throws Dane into the steps. Tatum ends up doing a 450 off the top rope. Paxley moves. You had Sean Spear get involved on the outside a little bit. You had all the kind of not necessarily touch Tatum, but they distracted her a lot. And there was one spot where Sean Spears, which was just literally just almost like mind controlling Tatum Paxley, and the referee's counting, and he's literally just staring at her, just staring right in her eye. And she's just staring back at him, and was almost in a trance, and the referee's counting. The referee got to 9, and she turned and go back in the ring. You had Sean Spears get up on the ring. Looked like he was going to hit Tatum. Tatum came kind of toward him. She stops, ducks, and Izzy Dane came to like almost clothesline and knocked off Sean Spears. Thought that was kind of funny. And then we end up having Tatum Paxley get the victory there over Izzy Dane and your new NXT Women's North American Champion, Tatum Paxley. Again, like I said in the preview, I actually called that in the preview. I'm like, when you call title changes, it's like, that's pretty cool, you know. I ended up giving that match 3.5 as well. With this kind of Spears and the Calling kind of out there, and they didn't necessarily get involved, but they got involved. It's like, I kind of do away with that. And then we had a main event, WWE main event kind of spot. It's like a weekly spot. It's just, you had JC Jane come out and just talk about how great she was, how she's the greatest women's champion ever, which I think she's good, but she's not the greatest ever. I think her name was Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley. The list can go on. Asuka, Io Shirai, the list can go on. Just pull up the NXT Women's title and run down everyone who's held it before JC, and those are some of the best in the business. And JC's right there with them as well. Anyway, so Zarya comes out, and obviously her having the title match on Tuesday, kind of getting screwed over at the end. She demanded another title match, and then Sol Roku comes out and says she should get a title match because she got screwed over. And Robert Stone comes out and makes a match for Tuesday night, triple threat match between those three for the women's title. Why don't you have the women's title on the premium live event? Which I'm fine with the 5 matches, but did we need 2 matches that were similar with Tony D'Angelo, Dion Lennox? Kind of started out as a street fight, and then actual street fight like Monroe and Jaida Parker. No, I don't think we need. And then Lola Vice and Kelani Jordan in the NXT Underground. That did not need to be on the premium live event. That needed to be on NXT Weekly. Anyway, and that leads into the Lola Vice, Kelani Jordan, NXT Underground. It's Bloodsport. If you watch Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, it's just a mock-off of Bloodsport, but on NXT. And it's literally just the two of them MMA kind of style fighting, which is cool. You know, the Bloodsport stuff's fun. I enjoy it on Wrestling Weekend. You had Kelani Jordan going after Lola Vice's hand, because if you remember back on NXT Tuesday, she thought she broke her hand, or they were worried that she broke her hand, and so the doctors told her not to go to this match. She ended up going, and so we'll see what happens there. That's how I felt during the match. Jordan just kept working on the hand, and two of them fought. They ended up, Lola Vice ended up making Kelani Jordan pass out and gets the victory. I wasn't as keen on this match as some people were. I was about 2 3/4 on this. I know I saw some stuff online, and people were like 3 and 3.5. I'm like, I don't know about all that. It just didn't do a lot for me. But Lola Vice getting the victory there. That's the one I missed on the picks, so 4-1. And then we had our main event. We had the NXT Title Line champion Joe Hendry, if you say his name, he will appear, versus Ricky Starks. I think the time for Ricky Starks to get that just push is gone. I think his luster is kind of cooled off some. I think the idea of, quote, Tony fumbling him got lost in the translation somewhere. He comes out. He's on the rope. Joe Hendry, or Ricky Starks is walking around the top of the rope. They're doing that. And Joe ends up kicking the rope and falling and getting a little higher octane, a little higher when he talks. You know, he kind of fell in his angels. And I just try to read what I wrote here. So they ended up fighting in the ring. Starks had body scissors, and Joe almost passed out. And then we had Ethan Page come out, and they had to stand there with the NXT title. Page walks over and picks up the belt. Ricky Starks thought he was out there to help him. I actually kind of thought the same thing. Page ends up throwing the belt into the ring, past Ricky Starks over to Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry went to pick the belt up. The referee saw it, went over, and when the ref grabbed the belt from him, Starks ended up low blowing Joe Hendry. And it's like, you going to have it end like this? This is kind of crazy. And then, of course, he goes from 10, 1, 2, almost 3. Joe Hendry kicks out. Crowd erupts. The announcers erupt. And it's on like Donkey Kong. Both go into the corner with the referee. You have those spots like that. And it's cool. You know, that's kind of, okay, it's part of the business. Behind the referee's back kind of deal. And then you have a few more moves. And then you ended up the referee in the corner with the wrestler over them, and then the next wrestler comes in and typically will run into him, push the referee in the corner. Well, they stop, and then you have Joe Hendry basically just reverse kick, mule kick, Starks low blow him basically, because the referee can't say it, and then you end up getting the pin off of that. It's like, what? Just didn't make a lot of sense there at the end. It was an okay match. I give it 3 1/4. And Joe Hendry retained his NXT title, which kind of what I thought in the pay-per-view he would. There's no reason to put the title back on Ricky Starks. Or Ricky Saints. I don't know what NXT is doing right now. I just don't understand it completely. The booking of some of this. This show, while it was good to WWE standards, some of these storylines, some of these, the Blake Monroe, Jaida Parker, you rushed that into a street fight match. You had one match, regular match, you had them kind of fighting backstage, and it's automatically a street fight. But now the Blake Monroe is won, now what? Where do we go from here? And it's like, okay, do they do something else with them, or is that just, we ran to that, we did it, we moved on? You got to kind of, and I hate it in time. I didn't really care for it, but I kind of like it now looking back on it. The Bloodline storyline. That just show after show after show after show after show. You just added to it. You made it more complex. You did this. You did this. You can't have a million of those, no, but you can have some of those. You don't need to rush straight to the blow off like this street fight. Which does that mean there's more to come with this? Is it going to be like the next one's going to be something else that's going to end up in a cage match? You know, where do we go from here? Same way with, now we know there's going to be something with the Ethan Page, Ricky Starks, cool. Is it going to be a triple threat for the title? Where we go from here? You know, you have multiple titles that weren't on this show. You have 2 titles on this show. I think you need to have these 5-card matches, or 5-card shows, which is great. I think it needs to be majority titles, something to work toward. You don't need to have your title defended, a title defended on like every weekly show. I know the goal is ratings, and you're trying to get ratings, and you want to beat AEW, which you're on different nights, different channels, different viewing styles. But hey, you know, whatever. Each year, I mean, but overall, not a bad show. Preview was pretty accurate, 4 out of 5. Alright, that is NXT Vengeance Day review. As always, thanks for watching our Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Our Sports Show, your YouTube leader, sports talk content.